Hello and you're welcome to Business Daily on Trust TV. My name is Chamun Dabeng. Let's talk numbers. We're starting off with the market this morning. You're welcome back, and once again, my name is Chamun Dabeng. Today on the show, we're going to revisit the marvelous world of micro, small, and medium enterprises in Nigeria. The SME sector is the backbone of every economy and accounts for more than 90% of all businesses and around 70% of jobs worldwide. Now, let's take a look at the contributions of the SME sector. Now, there are about 41.5 million SMEs, comprising of at least 41.4 million micro enterprises and a little over 73,000 small and medium enterprises. Together, they contribute about 50% of the GDP, and they are responsible for 59.6 million jobs, which represent 86.3% of the national workforce. And they also contribute 7.64% of export receipts. Now, despite its contributions to the Nigerian economy, SMEs continue to suffer setbacks, which has hindered the growth and development of the sector, to the point that only 1 out of 25 businesses that started together in Nigeria survive after 10 years, while about 80% will fail within the first 5 years. Nigeria's MSMEs account for 96% of the total number of businesses in the country and contribute about 50% to the national GDP. Now, with all these new developments like changes made in the Finance Act, the Petroleum Industry Act, the volatility of the Naira, what will the future of SMEs be in Nigeria this year? Now, joining me in the studio today is political economist and development researcher Adefolarin Olamileko and public affairs analyst and business consultant Agaba Wilson. Agaba, you're both welcome to the show. Now, taking a look at businesses before and some of the struggles that they had suffered in the past, which one of them do you feel is something that will basically be carried over into 2022 if care is not taken? Let me start off with you, Mr. Wilson.
Well, we're still in the COVID-19 crisis.
Yes.
So everything about that is going to be carried over. And then depending on the sector in which you are playing, the insecurity is going to also impact you. And then also we have issue of inflation, depending on how big you're playing and where you have gotten your capital from. It's going to impact on your cost of capital.
Yes.
And all of that. So these are issues that are relative to certain sectors, and there are some that are general, like the impact of COVID-19 is going to be general, although some sectors will be affected more than others. So basically, there are a lot that will be carried over to this year.
All right, Mr. Adefolarin.
On my own part, what Mr. Garba said, in adding to what he has said, let's also look at international price transmission of goods and services all over the world also have to impact majority of our SME or MSS, because most of the equipment they buy, most of the equipment they use, they also have to buy it from abroad, they import it. And also, we also have to look at the general tax administration of the country. Most of the time, we always complain about the multiple taxation that has hampered SME in Nigeria. Then also look at the infrastructure facility, especially the issue of power in use of their generating or making use of their equipment. These are the issues that normally generate. Although we also have in recently, issue of skills, application of skills by the SME trying to manipulate most of the equipment or trying to manipulate most of the machines they use in operation also have issues. And as well as spare parts in repairing those of the equipment they have are part of the things that will definitely shape SME this year. And going forward, also the issue of the policy of the government in terms of each, either at the federal level or at the state level, even including local government. Each of them, the policy they deploy this year will also affect them.
All right, so let's take a look at some of the challenges that SMEs are facing out there. And number one on the list is obtaining finance, followed by finding customers. And of course, the list goes all the way down. And Mr. Adefolari also brought up multiple taxations, insufficient cash flow, infrastructure deficit. These are some of the top challenges that many of them are going for. We can't even forget unskilled workforce, which is also a major issue when it comes to employing people who can actually carry out the jobs. So these are some things that SMEs are still facing. Now, I want to come to the number one challenge, which is obtaining finance for these SMEs. Now, this is something that they struggled with in the past, and considering the economy today, is it something that they will continue to struggle with this year?
Basically, the issue of finance, we are still way off from solving it because I work in this sector and I see the challenge every day. And we talk about the system itself, how it's being configured and how it affects all of this. But then you also want to talk about we as a people. People don't like to go the long haul. The reason most SMEs cannot access finance is because of the historical track record of SMEs. If the failure rate is high, people are going to be less inclined towards giving you funds, even from both informal and the formal sector.
Yeah.
And usually when you tell SME or entrepreneurs to go the long haul, to investigate a business before they go into it, they don't like to do that. Like somebody came to me yesterday and said, I have an idea, I want to start a business in this area, and story. And I said to her, first, let's start from the beginning. Are there people offering what you want to offer? She said, yes. I said, okay. Now, what do you want to do differently from all these people? Why should I buy from you instead of those people? How many people are out there that can buy what you want to offer? What are the things that will go into your cost? What are the skills you require? Do you have them? What other resources? When I started asking those questions, he told me, oh God, these questions are too many. I just want to start a small business. You just want to start a small business. There's nothing like a small business. A small business is only small in size, but every business goes through the same process if you want it to succeed. So because most people are in a hurry to go to the market, they are in a hurry to be CEO, MD, and all these things. They are in a hurry to sit in a big office. What they want to do is just to do whatever they feel they need to do, and not what actually they need to do. And this will impact success rate and make it difficult. If you look at the historical data, you won't be very comfortable to put your money there. And then for those who want to give them money, they now put a very high interest, because the more riskier the investment is, the higher that the higher the interest should be. So that is going to continue to affect issue of access to finance. And I mentioned here once on one of the shows that the government should think of a platform that onboard every credit and make it available even to individual, so that if I come to you and want to say, borrow me some money, let me do some business, you'll be able to say, okay, let me check if you are owing somebody. And you log into an app and send an inquiry, and then you get a response that Mr. Wilson is owing this person, but is servicing the loan.
Yeah.
And you can give me a loan and log it there and ask me to accept it. So that I now can have assurance that if I give you money to go and start a small business, you will pay me back somehow. The government has my backing to make you pay me back. If we have infrastructures like that, access to money will become simple. And then, like you say, when you posted this figure now, you saw something there, court processes, you saw corruption there.
Yes.
So if I give you the money to go and start business and then the business fails, that's the end of it. Even if you are running a business in the very bad way, I can't have a say. And if I want to go to court to make the court get the court to force you to make me have a say. It will take time. Before I know it, the business is crumbled and my money is gone. So those are issues. Also, if not, because if you want to start a business, there are two ways to raise your money. Either through debt or equity. Debt is when you have to pay back. Equity is when I put in it so that when we make some profit, we share. Most equity money goes down the drain. And that is why it's difficult for you to crowdfund. So the issue of access to finance is a complex thing that we all need to sit down and work on. And then we as individuals too should go back to morals. That time where we believe that the right thing should be done. Most of the people that got COVID loans for small businesses, they didn't use it for small businesses. I can tell you, I know at least 3 who use it to buy phone and other things that will not bring them businesses, bring them profits.
Well, it's their own share of the national cake.
Exactly, and they believe strongly that they are not going to pay back. So how is another money going to be available for another set of people to get it? Let's not go into the corruption at the high places where the people who apply for the funds are there. In fact, there was an arrangement that somebody wrote me on Facebook, says that this is what is happening. That somebody is telling us to apply, then he will make it come out. They will give us 500,000 and then I will be expected to give the person 100,000 out of the 500,000. And then I wrote to him, I said, don't do it because you should pay back. And if you're taking 500,000 plus the whatever percentage the government is going to charge you on it, and then you add this 100,000 you are giving out, how are you going to ever be able to pay it?
And the issue of non-performing loans is a major issue today because it's affecting a lot of the funding programs that even the government does offer to people who are running their own businesses. Because it now means that people who actually have businesses that they would like to grow or like to start can't do it. Because those loans are not being paid back. All right, so I would like to take a look at the expenses that some of these SMEs or entrepreneurs have had to deal with. Now, if we could get that to run across the screen, let's take a look at those expenses. As you can see, electricity, power generation, rent, cost of capital, employee costs, taxes, transportation, debt servicing, and others. The major has been electricity, but I do want to focus on one, electricity, of course, and also taxation, which is, 2 areas where taxation and transportation, yes, those 3. Now, these are 3 areas where, the government have actually released acts that are going to affect these areas. Now, for electricity, it's going to be underneath the removal of subsidy, where fuel is going to be removed, so it's going to affect transportation. Electricity subsidy is also going to be removed, which is going to further increase the cost of electricity. And taxations, now as it is, we have the sugar tax that has been added, the digital service tax that has also been added, amongst others that came with the Finance Act. Now, how would this affect businesses of today, and how can they actually cope? Because the whole essence is not just to cope, but it's to also make a profit and, survive. As I said earlier on, very few of them actually survive within the first 5 years. Many of them go down, and within the next 10 years, a lot more will go down, which has literally been a system because of many different factors and challenges out there. But now that we have these changes that are coming up this year, what becomes of those businesses? Let's start off with you, Mr. Adefolari.
I think one of the issues we need to quickly get in this particular arrangement is that now the federal government, with what you have pointed out in terms of taxes, they are looking for money. There have been issue of revenue is falling, and so they want to generate more revenue. Now, they are forgetting the side of the SMEs, the MSMEs that work in Nigeria, giving Nigerians the so-called of economic development. Now, for me, what I've discovered is this: with these taxes, with this subsidy removal, and infrastructural facility, they normally lack of it in terms of power. And majority of the SMEs depend on this infrastructure, especially power angle. If you look at all these small businesses that operate, maybe laundry service, maybe pure water factory, maybe those ones that engage in food processing at the minimal level, they majorly spend most of their income on fuel. Now that fuel will be removed also means that they are going to pay more. And what that means is that at the end of the day, they may start cutting down on salaries or may lay off their workers. Then also, it also reduce their production capacity in the sense that the production capacity, maybe they'll be producing like 20 cartons, 30 cartons earlier, they may reduce it to like 10. And it also bring about increase in the cost price of their goods in market. So with all these issues around, it will bring a problem in the sense that you are saying in the, maybe within 5 years they close down. In 2 years, most of them will go out of business. That's what it means. And even some of them that are having a plan to start, like what Mr. Agaba was trying to tell about someone that wants to start a business. Such person now, if you look at these figures you have brought out, you may be scared to go into business. Even if you obtain that loan, you may be so scared to even put those loans into the business because he's not sure what he's going to get. Because in this perspective now, what government have done, in my own understanding, they have created an uncertainty process in the MSA environment. There's uncertainty created by the government himself through multiple taxation that is coming with the Financial Act and through removal of subsidy. And again, they are not paying much attention to bringing infrastructure to Nigeria, especially power. We have been crying all over the time that power has become an issue, that ordinary power is not a rocket science to produce power. But Nigeria is finding it difficult to even generate the power. And what they are telling us is that they generate the power, but to evacuate the power is a challenge, which most of the time they have been talking about.
We have electricity getting stranded in the grid.
Exactly. There's no way to evacuate it into the system. But the issue is this: even with all these challenges that we have, the Nigerian government doesn't seem to pally much to understand how to bring these SMEs into the future rise or making it more contribution. We are talking about 7.5% contribution to GDP. They're supposed to be contributing more.
More than that, yes.
In China plan for this year, they are trying to transform about 200,000 MSME into higher scale MSME. That's what they are planned for 2022. And the Nigerian government have told us that through the CBN that this year the banks will concentrate in releasing funds, increasing credit to SMEs and the rest of them. But the plans have not been opened. We don't know how they're going to do it. Just like
But is it just about increasing those funds? Like we talked about other factors like corruption, insecurity. So is there really an essence in increasing those funds? It's like saying, oh, you want to, increase the size of your business during an inflation.
The one thing is that if they increase the fund, if they give out the fund, all those monsters of multiple taxation, lack of infrastructure facilities, and the subsidy removal, we're going to take away those funds from them. By the time you release 500 million into 10 MSA or SMSA or 20 MSA, by the time they begin to spend the money, what you have been able to outline will eat up the money.
Okay.
And they will not be able to succeed. And at the end of the day, how are they going to pay the government or pay the bank the money?
I think that the government should be more holistic in their approach towards revamping the SME sector. Throwing money at it doesn't always solve it. So we need to think in the long haul, throughout the value chain, where are the issues? Now, it's not a wrong thing for the government to want to increase, increase more sources of revenue. Because, of course, there are only two ways the government makes money: taxation and borrowing. Any other thing is just small businesses by the side, public-private partnership arrangement and all of that. So the government is into social welfare. It's not into business. So it only generates money from revenue. I have advised most times that instead of increasing taxation, widen the net. Always work on widening the net. And how do you widen the net? You need to create incentive for people to want to pay taxes. Around my area now, there's this FCTA tenement rates office being opened there. And then they want people who have built their houses to pay tenement rate and all of that. When you distribute this receipt, people don't even collect it from you. Why? Because they don't have any incentive to pay. But what if you sit down and say, okay, look, like in my area, we have one narrow trunk C road that takes all of us to the junction, and there are about 38 active estates in that place. Only one exit. So if there's any emergency around that place, we'll just camper. Now, can we have an arrangement where the people know and it's transparent, where you can say, okay, we are going to collect tenement rate here, and this percentage of tenement rate collected from this place every year will be used for a project around this place, which the residents of this place will vote. So vote for a project, every year will take this percentage. You'll see that the people living around that place will be the one knocking on their neighbor's door. Oh boy, you don't pay.
Yeah.
Oh boy, you don't pay. We won't do road this year. Oh. You don't pay. We won't do this one this year. Oh. That is encouragement.
Yeah.
What encourages an SME to want to onboard a government platform that will eventually start collecting tax from him? He should get some protection by being there. He should get incentives. We can have arrangements such that this is a platform of registered micro and medium enterprises. This is what they do. This is what we can offer them. And at the end of the year, this is the kind of tax we want to collect from them. We won't collect any other thing. If anybody comes to your place, just tell the person you have no business with the person. All the tax will be put together and collected in one single place so that they are not cheated. Mm-hmm. So at the end of every business, come and pay this. And then you go and pay there. Anybody that comes to your place, say, I have no business with you. Because if you go around the FCT, for instance, now you see a lot of revenue leakage. Mm-hmm. I went somewhere to eat yesterday, and some guys came and they started greeting the guy. Hey, we came to greet you. I said, hey, your boss have come to greet me already. Mm-hmm. So when they left, I started asking him. These are guys that go around, extort money from these people doing restaurant here and there. And this money does not go to the government. Mm-hmm. But if you onboard these guys, this money will go straight to the government. Yeah. The one that belongs to state will be shared to the state. The one that belongs to local government will go to local government.
There needs to be an organized system.
There needs to be an organized system that helps these people to grow, that brings them training, that brings them skilled labor, that shield them from this corruption. Because as they grow, you are helping yourself. Mm-hmm. You can graduate them from level to level, and then they become the big payer of tax.
Mm-hmm. Let me quickly add to what Mr. Gaba was saying. You know, in this respect, we have different SMEs groups and cooperative society. They have been missing in terms of trying to galvanize this kind of arrangement that Mr. Gaba is suggesting for the government and for their members. In a sense, they're only concentrating on how government can release money to them and share it. Mm-hmm. And I discovered that most of them are just portfolio MSMEs. Mm-hmm. That's just it. Mm-hmm.
All right. So my final question before we round up. Now, I'm still taking a look at taxation. Now, doing the research and taking a look at different surveys and responses from people who partook in these surveys themselves, and one of their complaints was the fact that they had issues connecting to international customers. And it could be a trust issue, it could be an issue of taxation, it could be anything. But what would be the way around, around that for them? And with the new digital service tax that has been added, the 6% that has been added, will this have an effect in that regard? Mr. Folarin, let's...
I think we need to again, I'll bring back the issue of government trying to raise its revenue profile this year. And again, in terms of MSME tapping into this particular angle, is for them to come, I said earlier, most of them have organizations, they have groups. How much of government policy are they interrogating? Mm-hmm. Like this digital tax that is coming now, have they been able to interrogate? Have they been able to have a face-off with government to understand how this will work and impact on their groups, on their members, so that they will not just be a policy that will come and sift them out? And that was, you ask, how are they going to gain from international aspect of this particular business? So it's now left for them to come together and interrogate this particular government policy, especially the tax aspect in digital aspect, and see how they can make it work for them and for the growth of the SME and the growth of Nigerian economy.
All right. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time, but yes, let me agree with what my guests in the studio have said. There is a need for an organized system when it comes to collection of tax. There is a need for us to protect our SMEs out there. Like I said at the beginning, they are the backbone of every single economy. They are responsible for employment. They're responsible for, contributing to the GDP. There is so much to be gained from building up SMEs in Nigeria. It's good for our economy. That's pretty much it. All right, so we have come to the end of our show for today, and I would like to thank my guests in the studio. Thank you so much, Mr. Wilson, and thank you so much, Mr. Adefolarin, for being a part of the show. And to our viewers out there, thank you so much for watching. Do not forget to follow us on our social media platforms. You can find us on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. All you need to do is look up Trust TV News, and you definitely find us there. Well, once again, my name is Chamun Dabeng. Come back again for more Business Daily. Let's talk numbers.